Hello everyone and you're welcome. So today what we're going to do, before I begin, let me quickly test my microphone and make sure it's working. Okay, good. I think I'm getting audio. That's good. So I might want to turn it up a little bit like that. And I hope that's loud and clear. So let's begin. Today we're going to create a nice little two kawaii characters, and it's in preparation of the African Cup of Nation. So let's just create a new project and I'll bring in the sketch. I'll just use A4, make sure it's on portrait, and I'll set the color format to CMYK, and I'll hit create. Simple. And let's go and import our file. Now I'll have this file, the sketch. You'll have access to it on the drive link. But for now, I'll just scan it and put it in my flash. It's in art. It's NGVSA. Basically Nigeria versus South Africa. And I'll just rotate the sketch like that. And I'd like to leave the sketch really large and centered around here. So what I'll do is, let's have our navigator open and I'll just zoom out and try to just stretch these edges like that. Just stretch them out till it's somewhat centered, and we can always rotate the art in case it's not really sitting where it's supposed to be. So I'll just leave it here and I'll just hit that like that. Basically that's it. And I'll just double click this. I'll call this the sketch and I'll group that layer. I'll hit Ctrl G because I want to add an adjustment to that layer. So I'll hit the adjustments and I'll just click on levels. So now the level is going to be affecting this group. I'll just drag this to make the black level a bit neutral, like so. Now let's zoom in so we can see what we're doing, like that. And for the white level, I'll just push this back in a bit so we can see some of the lines, and I think that's not bad. That's okay. I think I can work with this. So I'm going to call the group sketch just to know that's where the sketch is, and I'll lock this layer and let's add another background. So I'll just zoom out on the navigator, hit the marquee tool, the shape tool, and I'll just draw a nice rectangle that'll cover this space, and I'll make that slightly warm like that. I'll call that BG, short for background, and I'll lock that layer and put it right underneath our group. So basically, if we turn off our group, we can actually see our layer, and if we dial down the opacity, you can see we're seeing our layer underneath. So we can always dial down the sketch and bring it back like that, so we can have a way to play with the opacity. So if it's too bright or too dark, you can always adjust this and this will help. But because of this tutorial, I would like to just leave it really dark. But while I'm working, I'll just usually leave it around here, but I'll just leave it at say 91%. I think that's not bad. So you can see I have a lot of writings around. So what's happening here? So I'll just try to explain the sketch. Now it's Nigeria versus South Africa. And I believe, check today's date, today's 7th February. So I believe the match is on the 8th of February. I'm not 100% sure. So I was just trying to do a nice little cute, friendly character design because there's a lot of tension between Nigeria, South Africa. You know, some fans are really getting aggressive. So I don't want fans to be aggressive, football fans to be aggressive. That's not really nice, being aggressive. There's no need for that. It's just a fun sport. So I'll just explain the sketch a little bit, so in case you're following along, you understand what's happening there. I'll tear out the navigator, drop it here. I'll tear out the appearance and the assets, and I'll just close them because I don't need it. So in here, the navigator just helps me move around anywhere. That's super cool. So first I'll start with the flag, and this is the South African flag. So this is just the shape, and the reason why I have this here, I have the colors, so you can see the colors that are here. So here, this shape here is white, this is red. So what I actually do is to just create a background here, a white background, and then let me just do that while I talk, because this is still going to be what we are going to do. So I'll just click here to drag, and I'll create a nice shape, and I'll set the fill to white like that. So with the fill set to white, I'll just create a nice little triangle here. So I'll go to the triangle tool and just create I'll click away, I'll just create a triangle like that, just something like this, and I'll rotate this triangle. So on the South African flag, this is black, so I'll just go to the fill and I'll just drag this black and just place it, whoop, I'll use the move tool and just drag it and place it somewhere around here. Now this might not be an accurate representation, but I'll try as much as I can just to make this good. So here I'll make sure everything is within this base, so I'll just drag it a bit to the right and you can actually see what's happening here. I'll call this SA underscore flag. That's a South African flag. And what I'll do is to create another one. So I'll hit this color here and I'll hit Ctrl J and I'll make this slightly bigger than this one. Now there are two of them, so let's just go ahead and do that. So there are two colors here. So one is gold, so I'll hit this at the bottom and look for a nice bright color like that, and we'll just pull it out a bit so you can actually see what happens when we pull that out. So we have that nice South African gold, very beautiful South African gold color. So now what we need to do next is to create this nice little shape right here. So you can see we have a Y looking shape like that, and we have another one, and basically once we're done with that, we'll actually create the flag. So let's just shift this shape backwards a bit, and also this one backwards a bit like that, and make this really stand out. So I'll just push this here and push this here as well. I'm just trying to get things to line up. So next, let's create this nice little flag shape. I'll hit the pen tool and I'll start from over here like that, go over here, I think somewhere around here, do that, and then close this shape. And what I'll do is to use the node tool to just drag things and make sure they align properly, just like that. So I might need to pull this so you can actually see how it sort of aligns with this section right here, like that. So I believe there's a little space here, like that. It doesn't have to be perfect. We can always keep adjusting it like that. And this is red, so I'll just switch over to a nice, beautiful South African red. Beautiful people, beautiful flag color. And I'll just go over here and make sure I clamp that to this shape down here. So you can actually see we have that red. And what we can do is we can always adjust this, hit the node tool, and always adjust this shape till it looks very, very beautiful like that. All right, I think that's fine. Okay, that's totally fine. So what I'll do is to duplicate this shape, this one. So I'll hit Ctrl J and I'll use the move tool and flip it. I believe I need to rotate it as well, or no need to rotate. I will just drag this down so you can see where we're getting at. So we're getting that Y, beautiful Y shape down there like that. And I'll go ahead and select this, and we can always drag this like so. So this is red, but this other section is blue. So you can see why, keeping little handy notes makes sense, right? And there's always reference. I actually checked the internet and found the proper colors to use. So I actually found that. So this is blue. So I'll just look for a nice, beautiful blue and then change that to blue like that. Just a nice little blue, nothing too super crazy right there. So next, these sections are going to be white, but this shape right here, this one in between, it's actually green. So how do we create that? Just to fill that green shape. So we don't necessarily need to start creating another shape like that. We'll just create a nice little green shape and then pick the edges of that shape and leave that shape like that. So what we can do, we can even use the pen tool. Let's just use the pen tool because that'll be super quick. So I'll just drag it like that, make it go out, and then we have another one here. It goes out here like that, and then we'll close this shape. Now we can't see anything and we're beginning to panic. Don't panic, just relax. I'll show you how we can fix that problem like that. And to fix it, we first need to change this to a lovely green, and then we'll just drag this down till it is like that. And that's where that green needs to be, just under our shape. Remember, our base shape is this white shape right here. We have a white base shape which we filled with the color. So all we're left to do now is to rearrange it. So I'll just drag this and pull this down, and let's see how we can rearrange things. Now these need to be at the top, so the black and the gold need to be at the top. So I'll just hold Control and I'll drag that and place that on top of this, and we can always adjust this design to really make it awesome. Because why not? Because South Africa is beautiful, very beautiful country, beautiful people, beautiful food, beautiful tribes, everything beautiful. So let's see if we've gotten everything correctly. So this, we have red section here, we have the blue section, we have the white sipping through, we have the little green at the center here, and we have our gold and black. I totally believe we have actually nailed it, although we might need to make a few adjustments to make this, you know, properly, but I believe we have actually gotten the least the representation. So anyone who sees this knows, like, hey, this is the South African flag, no doubt about it, although we need to make a few adjustments here, but we're not out for perfection. And I kind of like noticed this is actually large, so what I'll do is to go over here and push this up a bit, go down there, push this down a bit, and then here we have a nice little green. We could just bump that up and raise it up a bit and drag this down a bit, and we can drag this one here. Whoops, I'll just undo that. So I feel it's a bit tilting. It's tilting a bit. I don't want it to tilt. Maybe I could just rotate this one. Like that. So again, that's super good. So let's save our project, which is the first thing we were supposed to do when we started our project. And I'm not going to save it in my USB drive. I'm going to save it, and I'll just go to this PC and go to drive D, go to scans. So in my scans folder, I'll just create a folder here. I'll right click and I'll call that NGVSA. And I'll just call that NGVSA. Alright, super duper great. And again, if we just go here, we can see we have still seeing that little problem. So I'll just drag this here and make sure this slightly up like that. And I don't want to beat myself too much about that. So that's our SA flag done. Let's quickly drop in the Nigerian flag. And the reason why I'm creating these is they're going to be just here. So the flags, you can actually see I have flags here. The flags are going to be placed in this position, and then I've also, you know, passed in some colors I'm going to add to the shape. And I actually like you can actually see the names of the players down here. So this is Osime, and with his trade signature mask, and I just gave him stylish hair. And then this is Williams. You can see Williams right there, and you know, he's the keeper. So we have Williams, you know, kind of like looking at Osimhen, and Osimhen like with his leg on the ball, trying to tell Williams, hey, you know what, I'm trying to get this ball in your net. And William just looking at him like, yeah, let me see you try. You know, like, yeah, you know, just friends. You know, they're just friends, nice, cool friends like that. So I'll just quickly do the Nigerian flag. And this is going to be super straight up, nothing too complex. I'll create another shape like that. I'm trying to make it just match this one. So if it matches perfectly, I shouldn't be able to see the other flag like that. I just want them to be the same size. I think if I just adjust it, okay, I think it's totally fine. No issues there, just a bit. I think that's totally fine. So I'll just drag this by the side, and what I'll do is to create those three stripes. Basically, I just need a white rectangle here. So if I just do this and draw a nice white rectangle shape and fill this with white, and I'll just clip this and mask this rather like that. So okay, not that way. I just want to clamp it to the right like that. So the flag is always going to be at the center. So if we feel if it's off balance, I'll just drag this over here. If this is off balance, we can just drag it like so. And we're just eyeballing it just to make sure we have that. So with that, you can see we have our flags. So I'll just call this ng_flag. And hit the return key. Now I'll group both flags together. So I'll click this, hold shift, click the South African flag, and I'll just hit Ctrl G, and I'll just call this flags. Really helps when you, especially when you are creating a lot of parts for your character. So what do we start creating? I'm actually going to be jumping around and creating everything, and I'll go ahead and explain why I have some of these things here. For instance, this shape is for the ball, and this is blue, yellow, and green, and it's a gradient. So it's a BYG gradient for each of these shapes for the ball. In fact, let's just do the ball real quick. So to do the ball, I'll hit the ellipse tool, and I'll just drag a nice little ellipse around the ball till I can't see the ball. That means we've done it. Let's just go ahead and click this like so, and I'd like it to have a nice little line width. So for the stroke, I'll make sure this is on black, and for this I'll just use 2.2 point outline is what I'll use for the entire drawing and design. And you can actually see it there. I'll get rid of the fill, so I'm going to see through the ball shape, and that's it. We should just have something really round. Don't worry, the leg is going to be in front, so that it appears the leg is on top, and we can just work on that. So let's just create these little shapes inside the ball. So first I'll start with the pen tool, and I'll create a nice little triangle shape like that. And I'll use the node tool to just pull this and arrange it like that. And what I'll do is just duplicate that shape. So now this might be too thick, so I'll just set this to about 0.8. I think that's fine. So I'll hit Ctrl J to duplicate that shape, hit V, and then go over here and then rotate this a bit. And then with the node tool, I'll select the tip and just pull it back up. If we don't want it to be too spiky like that, we can always drag this point, and there you have it. Nothing too complex, very straightforward. In fact, let's duplicate this one as well to get that for the last one. And let's use the move tool to just move this around here. Now I might need to zoom in a bit on the ball to make sure our objects are aligning, and I'll hit the node tool to grab this node tip, drag it here, and then drag this one over here like that. And I can make this look a bit more organic, friendly. I'll just click that and just drag this group like that. Alright, so we're done for the first set of spikes. Let's quickly do this next set. So we're just going to have 3 sets. 1, 2, 3, create a triangle. Use the node tool, just adjust that triangular shape like that. So that's the first one. We can just quickly go over and create our nice little triangular shapes. So you can see what happened there. I actually tried to do a smooth curve, which might be quite challenging. So I just go back to my regular triangle and I'll use the node tool to create a nice little curve shape like that. Drag this down a bit. And also I did a little reference, so I know the colors that are supposed to go on the ball, which is what I'm actually going to be using like that. And this needs to be slightly close to this one like that. And finally we have another set of shapes here. So I'm going to make sure this one goes out because I want to clip that shape to the circle so it always stays inside like that. So I'll just use the shortcut key and hit P for the pen tool, and I'll do the same triangular shape here. So I'll hold Control, and when you hold Control, what happens is it's actually going to hitting V now to go back to the move tool and move this shape right here. And then we'll have P again, and I'll just create a nice triangular shape and hold Control to move over to the node tool so I can quickly adjust these points and then drag this down here. So this entire set of curves, what I'll do is click on the last one, go back up, hold Shift, click this and hit Control G to group that, and I'll just call that ball underscore design. I'll say ball insides, and what I'll do is to drag it and just clip it under that ball. So by doing that, you can actually see that edge where this shapes went out. It's actually going to be constrained within the ball. Basically, it's the same trick we did when we created the flag. Same trick, nothing new here. It's the same trick. So now we can start working on the characters. I'll start with the eyes, right? And I'll be grouping the characters as we start working. So I'll go back to this for the stroke. Let's use black and let's try 1.8. So I'll try as much as I can to not break my 1.8 rule. And basically that simply means each line is going to be 1.8. So we have this shape. Let's duplicate it. So I'll hit Control J to duplicate this shape, and I'll hit the move tool and just drag it over here and pull it up just so I can have that shape. And next I'll just fill this with black, and what I'll do is to drag this and clip it to this shape here. So I'll just drag that to mask it, and you can see now it's inside. So we're going to call this so since I want this to be my Osime, sorry, this is Osime, so I'll just call this so I'll use Osime O for Osime. So all the parts that are going to be Osime's parts are going to have O. So I'm just going to say O, O, not 0, O, come on man, O underscore left underscore I. And this is just to, you know, differentiate that. I'll hit Control J to duplicate this entire group, and I'll just call this one right. RIGHT, so that's his right eye, and basically all I need to do is to move this over here so you can see we have his left eye and we have his right eye. Although I'm going to be creating that little mask to cover this, so the mask is just going to be sitting out here, but when I'm going to do that when I'm done with the character face. So we can select these two, and I'll hit Control G, and I'll just say O underscore eyes. So O underscore eyes, and that's it. So that's Osime underscore eyes, and I'll just create the mouth shape real quick. So I'll hit P, and I'll click over here, hit the node tool, and I'll drag this down a bit so you can see it has the fill. So let's go ahead and get rid of the fill. A quick way to get rid of the fill is just hit the stroke key or slash key. So you can see that mouth is not really sitting properly, so we'll just drag this, and I don't want it to have that little curve, so I'll just pull this here, and we have just a nice little line. And let's see if we can create this little shape here. So to do that, I just want this little shape without this part, so I'll break this curve. And to do that, I'll go to the node tool, select this point, and go over here and say break curve. So now you can actually see we have a separate little curve here for the mouth, and the mouth continues like that. And I'll just drag this here. So see, very simple shape, nothing too fancy or too complex like that. Just click away, and that's it. That's the mouth. Nothing, very simple lines, but create very cute characters. Let's do the same thing for the nose. So I'll hit the pen tool, click here, and just drag a little line. And I might just add a little curve here. When we are shading the nose, we'll actually add the shade that represents the nose. So let's group these things together. So here I'm going to hit Ctrl G, and I'll call this O underscore mouth, like that. And let's keep saving our work so we don't lose anything. And this is his nose, so we'll say O underscore nose, like that. So let's hit that there and see we have that nice little nose shape. Let's work on his head shape. So to do that, I think one quick way is to use the ellipse tool, and let's just drag a nice little ellipse like that. That represents our character head shape. Now the hair is going to be covering all these parts, so we're not really worried about, you know, how that looks. But what I'm concerned about is this curve here. How do we get this curve? And this is going to be a trial and error, but let's go ahead and begin. If you use a shape like this, like the ellipse tool, to use a node, if we go back to the node tool, we won't have points to edit. You need to hit convert to curves, and now you have points you can edit. And let's see. So if we click on this point, we have a Bezier handle. So I can just drag that back over here where we want, where that curve, you know, begins. So from here in between where it actually moves away, let's just put this point here, and I'll hold Alt and drag this handle like that. You can see what I'm doing. It's only affecting this line. So first I have it here. I'm just pulling this to make sure it kind of like matches here. So let's do the same here. I'll hold Alt and then drag this here. And you can see just by doing that, we haven't done anything special. We just adjusted only one of the control points. So that's the secret to using curves anywhere. It could be Illustrator, it could be any tool at all where you have curves. The fewer curves you have, the better you have. See, with just that curve, we've actually gotten that nice little curvy shape. So let's create the ear. For the ear, I'll use the pen tool, and I'll just draw a nice triangle shape that goes into the ear. So I'll just go like this and just show you what I mean. So I started here and just pull this out, and if you guessed right, I'll just use my little trick where I can just pull out this edge. Now you can see this part is looking very sharp. I'll go over here where it says convert this to a smooth curve, and we can always pull this back here and then drag these little handles that have been created. You can actually see we just get that ear very smooth. And because this is going to be behind the face, we're not really worried about this additional curve here because it's going to be behind Osime's face. So that's awesome. So let's create this nice little curve right here. For this curve, we can even get away with just one point. So I'll go over to the node tool, and just at the center here, I'll just pull this. We might need to zoom in on that ear, and you can actually see what I'm doing. I'm just adjusting this. So only 2 points, we have this ear shape. Now I want you to just notice something happening here. If I drag this away, you can actually see I have a tapered curve here. It's not really fully straight. How do I achieve this? Well, if you're using a mouse, I'm using a Wacom, but I like turning off the pressure sensitivity. Like, I'm not using any pressure sensitivity on this shape, so you can actually see the pressure here. But let's simulate the pressure. I'll go over here and I want to move this slightly to the right, and I'll just click on this shape again and go to the pressure. And okay, that's not a really good position. I'll just dock everything back. Now let's see if we can have a nice little position where we could have our object zoomed and we can see that option. Let's try it from here. Okay, good. And I'll try to just zoom in a bit. I just want to make sure you see what I'm trying to do. Okay, I think, okay, that's not bad. We got it. So if I drag this, you can see the top is actually getting tapered. I want the bottom to get tapered, not both of them. So I'll click here. And let's just drag this like so. Oops. So click this shape, go over here, click this one, and just select this point. By just selecting that point, you can see we create that nice little taper here, and that's how we can create basically any kind of taper you want to create. So we're done with the left ear. Let's see if we could get away. Our right ear is slightly tilted a bit, so it's best if we just create our right ear on our own. But before we do that, let's create and name our group. So here, this is our O_ face. Here, this is our ear. So let's hold shift and group these two together. So I'll hit Ctrl G. So I'll say O_ear_left. So same as left ear. Simple. Same as left ear. O ear left. Very simple. If you're looking at your layers, you know, hey, these are super organized. We know where everything is. Layers are your best friend. Trust me. So let's move over here and quickly create his ear. And I'll hit P. And this time around, I'll just use a curve. So I'll go over here and drag this shape. And I'll go over here and drag this as well. And I'll just close this. Now it's using that same taper. I'll just hit Control and click. But I'll just use the taper for this shape here. But this, I don't want the taper. To get rid of it, I'll just go over here, and I'll save the profile in case I want to use it next time. But here, I'll just hit Reset. So basically, if I do really need to use it, I'll just hit that, and you see the profile is applied. Or I'll just hit Reset to reset our brush back. So we're back to 1.8. Let's just move this away and see if we have the same thing here. That's totally nice. Okay, so let's group the ear. So I'll hold Control G. I'll say O_ear_right. And I'll group these two together. Hold Shift, click the second group. Group them together. And I'll just say O_ears. Because there are 2 ears now, not one, 2 ears. That's totally fine. So what do we start working on next? So many things to work on. In fact, let's jump to Williams and let's just keep working like that. So let's pick something a bit tricky and challenging for Williams. Let's start with Williams' hair. Hair is very, very tricky to do, but it's actually fun if you know how to do it. So for his hair, I will use the pencil tool, and I just want to click on the size to see what size I'm using. So I'm using this size. It's 1.8. So I'll go over here and hit the pencil tool. But this time around, make sure the width is on 1.8. And here where it says use fill, turn that off for now. So the pencil tool is a very nice tool, especially when you want to create organic shapes. But it could be quite annoying, especially when you start creating a shape and stop. This is what I mean. So if I want to create this nice curly hair that I gave him, if I start like that, stop here, and I pick another one like that and stop, and I pick another shape like that and keep going and creating this nice little curly hair I gave Williams like that. Now let's just keep going like that. So let me just stop here for now. So what is happening? If I use the move tool and select any of these shapes, you actually realize they are all separate shapes. So that's a problem. I want the hair to be one big, nice, lumpy shape. To fix that, this is what we do. Go back to the node tool, click a shape, and then hold shift, click the other shape. And let's zoom in and see. You see that point where you have one red shape where these two are? Just drag a nice little selection there. And you might want, let's say we select this. I just want to align it and make sure it matches here. So now I can hold shift and select these two shapes. So here where they touch each other, drag a small selection, make sure you're on the node tool, and here you could just say join curves. And look at what happened. Look at what happened. So now that I said joined curves, if I turn this off, you can actually see we have two of those curves joined together, and I'll bring this back. So now that I have these two curves, I'm going to join this curve and this curve. And remember, they are touching each other at this point here. So the first thing to do is just adjust, or I might just get rid of one tip because I don't need a lot of tips. So here, so I'm trying to join this point and this point, this point and this point. So hold shift, select this. I'll just drag this over here and drag a selection on these 2 points, and then over here say join curves. Now we have this curves. We have one more section to join. I'll just go over here. So we need to join this curve and this nice new large set of curves. And you guessed right, I'll hold shift, click this one, select these 2 points and go to join curve. And now we have a large curve. Hopefully you see how this is going. So if in case you can't really get everything in one swoop, not a problem. We just know that, hey, you can always, adjust it and get it in other swoops. Another annoying thing I don't like about the pencil tool is that it just creates a lot of unnecessary points. I don't need all these points. Just very few points are okay. But I'll just go ahead and complete this since I started using the tool. So I'll just go over here and create. Just try as much as I can to follow the shape like that. 5, 6, 7, 8. I might need to adjust that point. So let's just zoom in and try to adjust some of our curly afro. So I'll hit the node tool and you can see this point right here. I'll just get rid of it. So delete, click this one, and we'll just drag this over here till it looks quite nice. So just drag this here like that. I believe that's not bad. So if we just make this lap, we can select this shape, hold shift, select this shape, select these 2 points, and we can join this curve together with this curve, and we can just zoom out and see. I believe we have just one large curve like that, and we can always adjust this. So let's hit the transform tool. We can make this bigger. We can even pull it down, make it look like, pull this up to make it look like he has a nice little afro. That's totally nice. We can even add the back hair if we want. So I think I'll add a little back hair here, right? So we might get rid of it later on, no problem. So I'll hit N and I'll just create this little curvy shape that's going to represent the back here, and just try and see how I always complete that. Now sometimes a quick way is to just drag this point over here and it will close the shape, so you don't need to worry about closing that shape. So I just drag the points and that shape is closed. So this is William's hair, this is William's back hair. So I'll just say W for Williams underscore hair underscore front, and here I'll just say W underscore hair underscore back, and I'll group these 2 together. So I'll hold this, hold control, click this, control G, and I'll just say W underscore hair, and I'll try as much as I can to prevent any confusion to make sure these 2 characters are separate. So I just jumped around, right? So I created Williams. I can turn off the back hair by just going to the layer and turning this off, because it might actually interfere with my design. So we're actually getting there. We're creating something. We got our flags, right? We can see we got our nice little flags. We got our face shape, and we'll just keep working on our characters. Remember, you can always create separate parts for your character so that your character will indeed stand out. So let's go ahead and keep doing that. So what do we create next? So that's it. That's the fun thing. You can always decide, hey, I want to do the shirt. Let's do Osime's shirt, because that's awesome. And remember to take breaks so you don't get burned out. So I'll just go over here and create a very nice polygonal shape to represent the character's shirt. So here I'm trying to just add a little fold, just some folds around like that. And I'll drop this here, and let's switch over to the node tool and just go in a bit and see what we have here. So right here, I'll just drag this midpoint as I'm on the node tool, and let's just pull up the shape here. Still, let's just pull this a little bit. Doesn't necessarily have to be perfect like that. Now I'm going to create another shape to represent the back of the hand. When I have the hand, I'll still come back and fix this. So let's just create some nice little cloth folds. I don't want it to look like Osime has been eating a lot of donuts, so I'll just try as much as I can to make this. Let's make this smooth like that, and let's just drag this here, make this little wrinkled. So out in, just add a little nice folds on the fabric. Yeah, I think that's nice. And you can actually notice there's some lines inside that represent the fabric. That's totally fine. Nothing super duper crazy out there. And now that we have that shirt, let's just say I'll call this O underscore top. That's his top. So let's just go down here and let's create the neck. So I'll use the pen tool. The neck is going to be a super simple geometric shape, super simple, and the neck is going to be behind the head. And also, if we use the node tool, we can just slightly adjust the neck, and the neck has a little shadow shape. We'll work on the shadow shape when we are ready to start, adding flat colors, but for now I'll just leave that. So I'll just say O underscore neck like that. And just to be consistent, I think I'll finish up with a character completely before I start jumping up to the next one. I think that'll be super nice, or if we want, we can continue doing that. So let's create his hands. So I'll just zoom in like that. The hands are super simple, and by the way, it is a chibi character style. They're called chibis in Japan, and it's just a smooth, nice, cute representation like that. And that's his hands. I'll just go over here and make sure everything is running super smooth. Convert this to a smooth curve, and I'll drag this over here too. And let's see, we can turn it off to see how our design looks like. Yeah, we have a nice little puffy edge here, and here I'll make it nice and smooth too, so you can see his hands. Here's looking too geometric, so I'll just make this into a smooth curve and drag this to kind of like line it up with our design. And you can see, very straightforward, we have our hands like that. So let's zoom out. Yeah, we have his hands. The hands are going to be behind the shirt, and let's do the same for this other hand. So I'll hit the pen tool and click over here, 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 and here. So let's zoom in and begin to adjust these points so they look really nice. So this point, I'll make this into a smooth curve and then try to align it down here. Push this part up, push this part here, and I'll just have this go in like that a little bit. There, I think we're done. Nothing to, let's see if we actually, it's making sense. Let's turn this off, on, off. Okay, not too bad, although we might actually need to adjust this hand a bit. These are cute kawaii hands. Alright, so I think that's good. So I believe we called this, okay, we haven't named the hands yet, so we need to rename the hands and group them. So I'm going to say O underscore arm underscore left. So here I'm going to say O underscore arm underscore right. Hit the return key and I'll group these two hands together. So I'll click on this one, go down here, hold Control, not Shift, and click here. So you can see we have the two arms selected, and I'll hit Control G and I'll call that O underscore arms. So if I turn that off, you can see we have the arms. So let's work on the pants. So little shorts, and I've actually selected colors. I think for the shirt I was going to color it just green, right? Because why not, Nigerian flag color. But for the pants, I actually decided to have two parts. The pants is going to be white, and then it's going to have this nice little green stripe here, and you can see the same stripe over here. And this is a fictional design, just a flat design, so it's in no way trying to like mimic or copy or mock the jersey in any way. It's not like that, just a regular design. So I hit the pen tool and create the outline of the trouser, and I have a little curves here. So I'll just go over here, here, go back here, and then we'll go back to the beginning and we're done. So what we need to do now is to just make it a bit more smooth. So I'll just drag this over here, and here we'll just drag this in a bit. Here we could push it either out or in, and here's straight because there's a little tension here, and here's a little straight too as well. So we'll just add a little curve to make that interesting. I'll just push this over here. So these spots, let's see, I don't want these spots to be super angular, so I'll just drag some of this. It's actually looking like it's torn, but it's just nice little fun folds, I believe. So let's create this nice little stripe shape. We could just even use a nice little rectangle marquee like that. But we'll make sure we clamp this to the trouser. And I'm actually looking for it, I can find it. So to look for a shape, just either use the node tool or the transform tool. The curve is here. So I'll just drag this one and make sure it's masked underneath the trouser curve like that. So it's now inside. And what we can do next is to convert this into curves. And now that it's a curve, we can use the node tool to just adjust it to make sure it's just right where it needs to be. So it needs to be here. And we'll just make it slightly curvy like that to indicate that it's actually following this curve on the trouser. So you can actually see what we're doing there. So because we have another curve here, I'll just hit Ctrl J to duplicate that, rotate it, and then drag this up here. Let's rotate this guy. I can see we have a nice little curve right here, like that. So super cool. Let's work on the legs. Interesting. So I noticed something off here. This design is supposed to be like this. right? It's supposed to just go here. I don't know why I made it look like he's had his knees like that, but I think it's not bad. We can still work on it like that.